he was temperamentally attracted to its dark romanticism. Secondly, in chanson, the voice is almost secondary, or at the very least, it's about the character of the voice and the intent of the voice rather than being pitch perfect. And it's pretty easy to see how Leonard Cohen found that attractive. He didn't think that he could sing, and yet here was a tradition in which the style, the character with which you delivered the song was far more important than your technical accomplishments as a vocalist. And thirdly, there was the attraction that Cohen knew that he was an artist. He was a poet and a writer and an artist, and he came from a pre-rock and roll generation. And I think there was always a part of him that felt being a pop star was somehow selling his talents short. And in the European tradition and in chanson, he found a set of reference points that stood outside rock and roll. So that sort of squared the circle for him.
Les Allemands étaient chez moi, ils me dirent signe-toi, mais je n'ai pas peur. J'ai repris mon arme. J'ai changé 100 fois de nom. J'ai perdu femme et enfant, mais j'ai tant d'amis. J'ai la France entière.
The style of Aznavour, of Brel, of Gainsborough is Leonard's style. Absolutely, he identifies with that. That does grow out of Quebec. That grows out of a sense of self-possession, a sense of appearance, a sense of class. And I mean it not necessarily in social class, but in how your manner, how you dress, how you look, how you speak, how you behave. Yes, that I think is absolutely correct. And of course with that goes a singing style. And so that they meld together. That's where Leonard feels at home. He doesn't feel at home in English Canada. That's not his natural place. Even though he goes to McGill and English, the English University of Quebec, it's this Europeanness that I think defines his best work and that he carries with him, that he learns, let's say between the ages of 20 and 40, that never leaves him.
And as a direct counterpart to this European sensibility, another inspiration that never left Cohen was that most American of musical genres, country and western. When first traveling to the USA to pursue a career as a songwriter, his initial destination was Nashville. And after his disappointment over the production of his debut album, it was here that he headed for the recording of his next 2 LPs. Growing up in the 1940s and 1950s in a pre-rock and roll era, this was a genre that had a real impact on the young Leonard Cohen, and the early country pioneers would become key influences for his first tentative steps into the musical arena.
I know you like country music, but I didn't know this till recently, but you had a band in Montreal, the Buckskin Boys?
I was part of a trio called the Buckskin Boys. We played in high school auditoriums and church basements. Barn dances, square dances were popular in those days.
What is it about country music you like? Because I guess most people see you doing a more, the elegant, higher end thing, and then there you are liking country.
I always liked it. It's true. Usually the lyric speaks about things that are true.
Cohen, of course, sang in a country and western group. In the absence of any bootleg tapes or anything, I would guess that they were performing songs by people like Tex Ritter and Hank Snow and Red Foley, Lefty Frizzell. These are people who are a generation removed from the smooth countrypolitan pop country of Nashville in the 1960s.
That big eight-wheeler rolling down the track means to loving daddy ain't coming back, 'cause I'm moving on, I'm rolling on. You were flying too high for my little old sky, so I'm moving on. Flying the big loud whistle as the blue and blue said hello to the Southland. We're coming to you when we're moving on. We're rolling on. You had to laugh at me, but I've set you free and I'm moving on. Robert.
There is still a connection with, if you like, hillbilly music and the old ballads that predated even that. So there's an authenticity about these people that is lost by the time you get to the Nashville sound of the 1960s.
Although he would eventually emerge from the fringes of the folk scene rather than country music, the early work of these pioneers would leave its mark on Cohen. In the 1988 track Tower of Song, he specifically mentioned one of these country legends as an inspiration, Hank Williams.
I think what Cohen heard in Hank Williams was probably very much the same as Bob Dylan heard in him, and that is first and foremost the songs.
I try so hard, my dear, to show that you're my every dream. Yet you're afraid each thing I do, it's just some evil scheme. A memory from your lonesome past keeps us so far apart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart?
Yes, they might be simple, but there is an honesty and a beauty and a truth in the way that Hank Williams expressed these simplicities. And in fact, they were more than simplicities, because there was also this torment and this pain in the songs, that when he sang about heartbreak, you believed it. It was, I mean, heartbreak must be one of the most overused words in the canon of popular songwriting, and you hear it in a Broadway show tune, and it has a quite different resonance to when you hear Hank Williams singing it. So I think Cohen recognized in Hank Williams a great songwriter and therefore a great poet.
I said to Hank Williams, how lonely does it get? Hank Williams hasn't answered me yet, but I hear him coughing all night long. Yeah, 100 floors above me in the Tower of Song.
I mean, the very fact that he can write a song called The Tower of Song, and there are only two songwriters in the song. One is Leonard Cohen himself, and the other is Hank Williams, 100 floors above him. I mean, I think that speaks volumes.
There was also a more general element in early country and western music that appealed to the writer in Cohen, the predominance of strong storytelling.
Country and western music allowed Leonard to tell stories. It allowed him to use narrative as a form of songwriting. And if you think of some of the important songs like Democracy is Coming to the USA, I'm Your Man, Suzanne, they're all narratives. They're all kind of an account of something happening. And this is country and western music. I like country and western music because it's filled with story.
Oh, the noonday train will bring Frank Miller. If I'm a man, I must be brave, and I must face a man who hates me. All I a coward, a craven coward, all I a coward in my grave.
Leonard writes about the same stuff, people who are having problems. So I think there's a really nice connection there. And that whole theme in country western music